Hey, g'day, thanks for tuning in. My name is Ramon Newman, CEO, founder of New Mavericks, and I hope you are having a fantastic day and you are doing extremely well. And today I'm going to talk about a little bit of a negative subject, but I think it's important because this quality or emotion of disappointment obviously does crop up in life. I know it's cropped up in my life a number of times, having been a competitive runner, having been a rugby player, having been in business and in relationships. Just disappointment, somehow it creeps in. And I've always been curious why, and I've kind of got to a point where I've kind of realized why. I don't completely know why, but I'm going to share with you some ideas about why disappointment happens, whether it be any shape or form. It could be in just a failure to get what you want, could be a mistake, could be an accident, could be illness, injury, any of these things that kind of evoke this emotion of disappointment. I know I spent like 5 years before I won some state titles that I really wanted to win. It took me 5 years of being disappointment in order to finally achieve that goal, but I grew a lot in the process. But here I'm going to break it down a little bit, because obviously in life we want to maximize on the good things and minimize on the negative things, like disappointment. We want to maximize our happiness, minimize our suffering. So let's get into it. First of all, number one reason why I believe disappointment crops up is because simply, on a very face value, we just weren't vigilant enough about what we were doing or what we wanted to accomplish. And the reason why we weren't vigilant enough, because we just weren't coherent enough. And the reason why we weren't coherent enough is because we just weren't settled enough. We were too excited, too stimulated, too emotional about what we wanted, that it took us away from our natural, inherent, coherent state of being settled and being who we are and who we're naturally meant to become. And we got caught too much outside of ourselves, rather than just naturally being inside of ourselves and going about what was required to achieve what we want. So obviously, to counter that, we want to be able to slow ourselves down inside, to be settled, to be coherent, and to be in that natural state, so we are more able to be coordinated to achieve what we want and minimize any negativity that may crop up in that process. So that's number one. Number two is really disappointment serves us in a way to kind of refine ourselves and to realign our approach to what we want to achieve. Because often we need a certain level of development, a certain level of positive energy or belief and trust and competence and confidence to be able to achieve what we want. And if we're not there, then disappointment is actually our friend and serving us in a way to be able to really refine who we are and our approach, so we're more likely to get what we want. So that's number two. Number three, I've found, is that sometimes we are coherent, we are vigilant, we are well aligned with our approach, we are refined in who we are, but still it doesn't work out. So what that comes down to is that literally it's something from our past ignorance, our past actions that weren't completely coherent, that is somehow coming back to us and blocking us at that point in time. So the best way to deal with that is the ability to really be neutral, to accept what happened, to metabolize what happened, realize it's a purification from something of the past, and once it's purified and you don't react to it, so you don't create more of that ignorance and incoherence, then you're able to proceed forward. So the next third point why disappointment crops up is that sometimes we're just maybe not as really motivated, or have that highest, more important, that highest motivation or that highest intention or the best intention for accomplishing what we want. Maybe we're driven by some form of anger or greed or lust or vanity or false attachment to something, or even revenge. And when you're coming from that place, it's not the most coherent place to come from. So we're probably more than likely not going to achieve what we want, because we're really not being who we truly are in that highest sense. So it doesn't really work out. So we have to purify some of those emotions and get better intentions, better motivations for doing things. So overall, we want to obviously minimize or even avert disappointment, and the best way that we've found in my own life and my business partner's life and the clients that we've worked with, top CEOs around the world in different countries, is that we want to be able to maximize our coherence, which allows us to be vigilant and alert and aligned and refined and have really good intentions and motivations. And by doing that, by being the most coherent state you can be, and then you maximize your protection and evolution and support for what you want to see happen. And you're really coming from who you are, not really being outside of yourself and so attached to what you want. So when you are more who you are and who you're meant to become, then more naturally you're able to achieve and attract what you want. So if anyone's interested in our process, in our 4-component process for maximizing coherence, so you can have more maximum protection and evolution support for what we want to see happen, we'd love to have a deeper conversation with you about that, and perhaps we can work together to be able to do that for you, as we've done with many top CEOs over the last couple of decades. So I'd love to hear your comments on really overcoming, bouncing back, going beyond, above and beyond disappointment. And if you are interested in a deeper conversation, I'd love to have that. Just reach out to us and we're more than happy to have that discussion. Because sometimes you do develop yourself to a level where you have confidence and belief and trust in yourself and able to achieve what you want. You do achieve what you want, but then some incoherence comes in and you do fall and you're not able to sustain that success. So what's the point in achieving if they then fall back? You go one step forward and one step back. So you really need that optimal coherence all the time to be able to have that maximum protection and evolution support continuously to sustain the success that you want to see happen and to continue to be who you want to become and who you are. So I hope you enjoyed that. Hope it's useful, and enjoy the process of averting and overcoming and coming back from disappointment.